Welcome to Uncensored Entrepreneurs, where hosts Stephanie Magnus and Sabrina Wiggins break down the real deal about entrepreneurship without sugarcoating anything.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Uncensored Entrepreneurs. We are back again with another great episode with another powerhouse. We are joined by Miss Stephanie Green. She is the CEO and founder of Power Wealth Profits. And again, I'm Sabrina Wiggins. I'm one of your hosts.
And I'm Stephanie Magnus. I'm your other host.
And good evening, Miss Stephanie. How are you doing this evening?
Good evening, everyone. I am doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Well, that is good. So before we jump right into it, I'm going to allow you to do your introduction. Tell them a little bit more about you. I try not to do introductions for people. I want them to hear it directly from you.
Okay. Well, first of all, my name is Stephanie Green. And again, I'm super excited to be here. I am originally from the West Coast. I moved out to the East Coast probably about 15 years ago. I moved out to Boston, Massachusetts, and loved it out there. You get the four seasons, get to meet a lot of people, and I work in finance, and so it was really exciting to live there. And then a few years ago, we moved into the DMV area, and I love it here because just, the culture and the surroundings and everything is just different. But I started my company while I was in Massachusetts. I was working in finance. I was working at a bank, and I had 6 different branches that I was over, and I would actually have to drive 500 miles a week to go to the different branches to help them out to get their numbers up. And so that was a lot for me. So my husband works for the government. He was transferred here, of course. And so my job transferred me as well, but the environment was different here. And so the company had this huge layoff. And since I was new into the area, I got cut, right? And so imagine that. I've been, doing my thing for the last 10 plus years, up in the upper 3% in production and got cut, right? But to the company, you're just a number. So after that, I decided, ain't no company gonna be cutting me. And which a lot of them are right now, like Amazon and Google and all these companies laying people off right now, right? And so I decided, I was praying about it, and the Lord said, well, just start your business. And so I started a company called Power Wealth Profits. And so what I do is I empower families to obtain wealth. And so I've been doing that, and I'm excited about that. So here I am.
That is awesome. That is really, really awesome. Now, so let's just jump into it a little bit. So you are empowering families and helping them understand wealth and finances. And I know that, a lot of times that this, for us as African Americans, can be a little tricky and also difficult. And so give us a little bit behind, some of the I know you can't tell their business, but what's some of the struggles that you have when you're trying to work with clients and get them to understand how important their finances are?
Oftentimes it starts with mindset. What I find is people don't believe that they can even obtain wealth, or they believe that it takes a lot of money to even get started. And so what I do is I start out with the mindset to help people to believe you can start with just a little bit, right? And so I teach also from a biblical concept, because a lot of people know about the parables and the talents in the Bible. And so the talents, one person got one talent and he digged it in the earth. And so when you don't do something with your money, it's like burying it in the dirt, right? And so God is not pleased when we're not doing something with our money. And so what I do is I show people how we are supposed to multiply our money, right? We're here to have dominion and power and authority. And so when I show people, that even if you just have a little bit, you can turn it into a lot. It's like multiplication. I teach people about multiplying your money. You start with a little bit and you compound your money. So I do a series when I teach people how compounding works. And Einstein says this. He says, the greatest wonder in the world is compound interest. Those that understand it will earn it, and those that don't will pay it. That's why you see people with credit cards that charge like 24% or more. The interest is consumed and you're paying it out to the banks versus you putting your money in the bank or investing it and getting a return of 20% or more. So you see the difference? One person understands it and one person does not understand it. So I teach people to understand how compound works in your favor.
So that's interesting you say that, because when you said that, I thought of enlarging your territory. That came to mind is when, when we say let him enlarge our territory, that also means that can also mean generational wealth.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things I wanted to touch upon is that you talk about building wealth, and how do you feel as an entrepreneur? How do you feel? Well, maybe not how you feel. What do you think some of the things that we do wrong in this area when we first starting a business?
Some of the things we do. Well, one of the things that you do wrong when you first start a business is you don't take it seriously. Number one, people don't open up a business bank account and you put it in your personal account. So you're commingling business funds with personal funds, and that's a no-no. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people do in business is commingling business funds with personal funds. So and another thing, this is a secret. Do not use your social security number. An EIN number is free. You just apply for an EIN number and do it under that number, because that's saying I have a legitimate business. I'm not doing it under my social security number. So you can see the difference, business and personal. The government gives you a business social security number, so to say, right? And so with that, the government does two things. They give you benefits when you have an EIN, because the government gives credit to businesses. So you have so many different tax write-offs that you can use with that. So, they're not utilizing that.
And that's good that you say that. I always talk about it to Sabrina. One of the things I do with my clients is everybody knows that I'm really the compliance person. And when you have a business entity that is registered with the state, whether it's an LLC, an SOC Corp, in order to keep that asset protection, you have to commingle your funds. It is up to you to prove, like Pinocchio had to prove he's a real boy, right? So you have to prove that you're a real business. And once you commingle funds, meaning that you are mixing your business and your personal, in the eyes of the court system, it may not look like you have a real business. So I'm glad that you said that, because Sabrina knows this, I preach this a lot, is that you're going to have the burden of proof when you appear before whatever agency, whether it's judicial or state regulatory body. You're going to have to prove that you're a real business. And the second thing you said is never use your social security. Sabrina knows I also talk about this a lot, is that when you do use your social security number, it's kind of like also giving a personal guarantee. And so that's kind of like how you don't really want that, because then I know, like I was telling Sabrina recently, like with the IRS, if you give a personal guarantee on a business debt, like a credit card, you cannot write it off as a business expense. So we want to definitely keep in mind those things. And like Stephanie is saying, is that those are things that I will agree with Stephanie, that the biggest mistakes I have seen as well. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Now, Stephanie, I want to ask you. So I know that you're
Stephanie.
Not you.
You said it. I'm like, okay, Stephanie G. Make sure you say that, because I'm like, both of us looking at each other like, okay, who she's targeting this question?
Right, let me ask the question. You'll know I wasn't talking to you, ma'am. But Stephanie G. So when you are here, since you're in this entrepreneur space, and you're in finance and all about building wealth, when you see some of these influencers on the internet telling people to go do this and go do that, for instance, go get this luxury car in your name, go do all these crazy things, does that make you cringe?
It does. It does because some of them are giving the wrong information. So you have to be careful. You have to, I mean, and I always go back to the Bible. It says, "My people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge."
God said, "Don't be no fool." Just like this, when He said, "Don't be no fool." You can say that. God said, "Don't be no fool."
But it's the truth. And people, and it's funny because people just listen and they don't even know what the real truth is, and so
Right.
they just go out and do things without proper education, without proper knowledge. And I also have a business degree, so I know a lot of these things. And so the classes that I had, we have business law classes, right? So I got straight A's in all my business law classes. I don't know why. It's just like I think I'm more of a compliance like Stephanie here too. And so we have to be in compliance, right? We have to follow what the right rules are. So what does that mean? Ask the person, have they done it? Show them, have you done it? Show me how, show me the paperwork that you've done it with and how did it work for you? And then also just check, sometimes you can go online and find things, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. You can go out and write, get a vehicle or something and write it out, but there's a right way to do that as well. So you have to be properly educated on these things.
Like she said, the proof is in the pudding. And Stephanie, you're not just now meeting, but you will hear me a lot say, "Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe." That's what I call it. Is don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Don't fall for what you see on social media. Always fact check. You fact check everything else in your life, right? Yes. I always tell people, Stephanie, and Sabrina's about to laugh, treat your business like somebody about to date, right? When you're about to date somebody, you get all up in that person's business. When you check everything out, you may go on social media. You want to see what his mama look like. You want to see what his sister look like. You want to see what his kids look like. Do the same. Mind you, like we always say, mind your muffins, mind your business. Like you mind when you're trying to date somebody, do the same thing for your business. Give yourself the same due diligence that you do when you're dating somebody, because we could become, and as women, we could become Inspector Gadgets, and we will get to the answer and the truth. If it looks like he may have another woman, we will find it out. Do the same thing. Right.
That is true.
Candid here. That's what I see a lot of times, Stephanie, is that people don't do that. Like you up in everybody else's business, but not your own. So
exactly.
I'm glad that you have said those things, is because we just have to do better, and it's your baby, you birthed it.
Right. And what is, so again, go back to, especially, for us African Americans, what are some of the biggest challenges, of you trying to help the people get on track? Is it, them just really trying to understand credits, in a sense, because, a lot of times we were not really taught it. We were not taught. And so therefore, sometimes we don't understand. And so we get ourselves and we into this debt and we try to figure out how to get out of it, but we continue to make some of the same mistakes trying to get out of it. So what would you recommend, and how would you, what tips would you give to the people to make sure that they're doing these things properly?
Again, it's all about mindset. And so I do also teach people about leveraging credit, because I do believe in using what's called OPM, other people's money, right? And so you do need to learn how to leverage your credit, because like working in the bank, there's credit cards. Some of the credit cards have cash rewards. Some of them have travel rewards, all these different type of rewards, right? And so there's a segment where I teach, okay, if you have this credit card, use your credit card, transfer the money from your checking account to pay it off. So if you are constantly paying it, transferring it over from your debit account to pay the credit card. You just wash it out every single month, and you'll eliminate that debt. You won't even be charged any interest because you're paying it off in full every single month. And so my husband, it's funny because my husband, he didn't get the concept at all. I've been telling him this for years, and I think he probably for like the third year, I think it finally clicked.
Right.
It clicked for him. So again, it's just they don't teach you these things in school, so you just don't know. And so even if you don't get it the first time, just follow the instructions, okay, from someone that knows how to do it. So if you know how to make a cake and you follow the directions on the cake and you continue to do that, it becomes a habit to you, right? And so
Right.
when that habit will start manifesting itself, even if you don't know how to do it, but you cannot allow fear to stop you, even if you don't understand.
Right.
All you have to do is believe that it's possible. If I could do it, you can do it.
Yes. Yes.
And that's so funny you use the cake analogy because I just wrote a book, Stephanie, called Mind Your Muffins. And I talk about just like what you're saying. And I use the muffin analogies because I always remember when I used to cook muffins and my mom used to say, "Did you check your muffins? Or, did you make sure, did you didn't put a timer on it? Did you follow instructions?" Then she used to say, use a fork and things like that. So that's, just like you make your muffins, there's certain ingredients you put in. There's something you got to preheat your oven to a certain temperature. That's getting your business in order, whether it's registering with the state, doing your taxes, getting your basic business license, and then mixing all the ingredients together. And that's all, like you were saying, the compliance part of it. All that is mixed in together. Let me ask you a question. And, because this is Uncensored Entrepreneurs, and believe it or not, we're actually live.
I forgot to change the setting.
So you're actually getting a live. If you're watching this, you're getting this live right now.
Okay.
We're trying to hold it together. I was like, Sabrina, we live. But you know what? That means God wanted this message to the people.
Right.
Today.
That's right. Triple S.
Right. So let me ask you a question. So we talking about we know that you're working on wealth and profits and things like that. Let me ask you a question when it comes to entrepreneurship. What advice? I mean, I know we usually typically ask this question at the end, but what advice will you give someone that's fresh starting new, who is looking for ways to finance their business? Because a lot of times I'm getting people asking me, is there grants? Is there should I leverage business credit? Should I get business loans? What do you say to people who ask those questions?
Well, if you ask me, I always say use all of your options. Don't turn anything down. If you're just starting out, I would suggest, finding someone that's a certified business coach that will actually teach you the right information. But in my business coaching classes, I actually teach people, hey, like I said, you want to leverage other people's money. So, those first few years are really crucial because you have to have capital to run your business. Okay.
Right.
So if you have a loan, even if you take out a loan, you can use some of the money to pay back the loan. There's just so many different ways, but you want to, go ahead and apply for the grants because grants are free money. You do not have to pay those back. So don't turn away free money. Okay. Number two, credit cards are really easy to do. And so, my husband says I'm loud. Am I too loud for you guys?
No, you're fine. That's
my husband says I'm loud.
You're fine.
Yes.
You're speaking your truth and you're speaking your passion.
Sound the alarm, right?
So, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that, let me get back over here, messing up the screen. But I think that, as we are on this entrepreneurship journey, money is such a big piece of it, being able to not only, as we talked about earlier, being able to separate your personal and your business funds, but also being able to understand and being able to handle big amounts of money. So if you're going out here and you're building business credit and you get this money, say just say if you got $50,000 and you've never had $50,000 before at one time in your bank account, you can't get excited about that and just think you can go out here and just start spending it and blowing it on whatever you want to. Remember, you're still running the business. And so
Exactly.
we want to make sure that they understand how to make sure they're managing and making sure they're creating a budget in their business. So let's talk to them a little bit more about making sure that they budgeting their money
Mhm.
so they understand how to make their money work for them in their business.
Yes, it's funny that you say that because I was just going over someone's budget because they were just really overspending.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you see the money there, you just want to spend, spend, spend. But
Mhm.
in addition to having a budget, you need a plan. That's why, God says to write the vision and to make
Mhm.
it plain. Have
Mhm.
a plan how you're going to spend the money. If you're going to spend 20% on this, if you're going to spend 10% on this, you're going to spend 5% on this, stick to the plan. Um, so have a plan. I mean, that's the best way to do it. And the funny thing is this, when you think of, and it's interesting that God says to write the vision, because when
Mhm.
you're writing something out, you can actually see it,
Mhm.
right?
Put it on
And so
paper.
people are not seeing it because it's not in front of them.
Mhm.
So it's
Right.
like you're blind going into whatever you're doing because you can't see what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
blindsided. So if you don't have a plan, you don't have a vision, then you got to take a step back and take the proper steps to go forward to have longevity.
And that's what at the end of the day is, you, like she said, you got to make plan
Yes.
and stick to the plan, right? But sometimes we know we have to deviate from the plan, and that's okay. Like when you're making a budget, sometimes I always tell my clients, Stephanie, is it's not like a dictionary or a Bible that is written is for than is said, right? A budget is something that is preliminary. So don't feel like, oh, that because it's on paper, I have to stick to it. Like Stephanie said, sometimes, it's a way to find out if we're overspending as well. And then it'll help you do projections. Because when the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day is, I always tell people that there's people that are not going to make it past year 5. That's just the reality of entrepreneurship. But why is that? Stephanie talked about at least 3 things that corresponds with what the SBA says: poor management, lack of knowledge, and poor financial management. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
3 things that the SBA has defined as determined what is the cause of this business failure. And Stephanie's kind of giving you some ways that you can kind of, maneuver through that. And so thank you for sharing that with our audience because it's so important.
Yes. It's okay. So Stephanie, so what are some tools or resources that you give your clients on being able to maybe manage their money, how to track their spending, those type of things that help them to stay on track and to be able to build wealth?
Well, one of the things I use is, some people use an Excel spreadsheet. Some people also use something called mint.com, which is a free service.
Mm-hmm.
You can go on and use that to budget your money. Um, and in addition to that, I show people how, don't just save, because you put your money in a savings account, it doesn't really earn any money. It just gets you to the habit of putting money away. So if you're putting the money away, I want you to start investing your money, because if you're not investing, you're left behind. Because when you're investing, and everybody has different risk tolerance levels, right? So what Susie does is different from what Johnny does, right? So you have to know what your risk tolerance level is. Some people are really, really scared of investing, which is okay. It's just you have to learn certain things to be comfortable in your whatever your comfort level is, right? And then once you get out of your comfort level and start, starting from, ground level and then keep going up. But I show people how you can start earning, 20%, 200%, 4,000% return on your money annually, and these are real numbers, right? But again, past profits don't guarantee future results, but the numbers speak for themselves. That's one thing I tell people: numbers do not lie.
Right. Right.
And, and so let's dig a little deeper into Stephanie now, because we want people who are watching this to see Stephanie's a little bit about Stephanie's journey. And so, in order to get an understanding where Stephanie came from and where Stephanie is now, give us a glimpse at that. Like what guides you to start your own business? I mean, you talked about it a little bit, but talk about some of the emotions that went along with you starting your own business. Because a lot of times people will feel relatable and feel like, wow, I went through the same feeling and stuff like that. So tell us a little about your personal journey, like your emotions. Did you have family support, things like that?
And just to add on to that, because you're married, you have a husband. How did that play into
Mm-hmm.
your business structure as well?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So, a lot of you may not know, a lot of you, the people that actually know me, this past year, I was actually in the hospital. So that even adds to it, right? Um, so that's why I like to show people how you have to have something called passive income.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're only working on active income, where you're there working for the money, what happens when you get sick? What happens when you can't work?
Right.
Or you don't have someone to help you to do something? Then that's where you created that passive income. For me, I've been in real estate for over 15 years, and so when I got my first house, actually my first house, we kept the house and we rented it out, and so that's passive income that's been coming in consistently for 15 years. That's passive income. And
Wow.
so I have several investment properties. I have passive income that comes from those properties every single month. So when I say passive income, you want something that you don't have to be there. You do the work one time and it comes to you constantly. So you have to screen the people really, really good, do background checks and all that. But God has really blessed us because we've done the background checks and we've been really, really successful. I hear horror stories about people that, but my story is this: if you believe that you can do it, have the mindset to do it, do your due diligence, and create passive income. You can get passive income. I heard someone say they just wrote a book. You do the work one time, and the money keeps coming in. There's passive income comes in many different forms. Just find one that you're passionate about. I'm passionate about real estate, so I love real estate. So that's one of the things that I choose. I also wrote a book. So there's many different things that you can choose. But what I talked about at the beginning was, remember I said that I was laid off?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a challenging time. I had, saved money up, invested money. So when you, for me, it's like, even though I have money saved up and money invested, I still think of it as if something still has to be coming in. If I'm not working, something still has to be coming in. So that money
Right.
that's saved and reserved, I don't touch that money. I need something that's going to be fresh and coming in that's going to keep working for me and not me working for the money. So when I talked about me being laid off, I was thinking about a lot of people that were there. They were like, well, hey, I still have bills to pay. Oh, I got to go home and tell my husband, hey, I got laid off. Men don't want to hear that anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, whether you're married or whether you're single, I tell single people all the time, have passive income. Even if you're married, have passive income. Don't just rely on your spouse, you know, because it could be challenging to them. They're like, okay, well, you're not working. How you gonna help me out?
So Stephanie, to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sabrina, I don't know because we're not married. And so how tell us about, because a lot of times I have clients who tell me that their significant other is not supportive. How do you first tell us, how supportive is your spouse, and how do you do the work-life balance when you have a family?
That's
Yes.
brilliant.
Yeah.
To me, I don't really think there is such a thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't care who puts it out there, but there's no such thing as work-life balance. You just have to plan your time.
Right.
Everybody gets the same 24 hours in a day.
Right.
Yesterday's not going to look like today or the day before. So every day is going to be different. So what I do, I used to teach a class about time management. So I would have people get this calendar, and on the calendar, it would have, starting out your day from 5 o'clock in the morning up until, whatever time at night. And so you would block out your time, say like for me this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, I blocked off my time at 5 a.m. That was my prayer time. From 5 to 6 is my prayer time. So from 6 to 7, so you're really assigning your time. And so if I have date night with my husband on a Friday night, I block that off. So when you're intentional about what you do with your time on different days of the week, you can be more productive. And
Right.
so whether you're married or whether you're single, everybody gets the same time. But what are you doing with the time? So
Right.
for me and my husband, if I'm married, he'll look at my schedule and say, I have this time blocked. We'll have a conversation about what we're going to do together. Say if we're going to go on vacation in March, that's already blocked off in my calendar. So we can plan ahead. You have a whole 12 months to plan ahead. So I
Right.
suggest people plan your vacation time ahead, plan your date nights ahead if you can, special events, plan all that ahead so that you know what you're going to be doing. And that makes things a lot better. Again, it goes about planning, right? Plan your
Right.
time.
We're back to
Yeah.
plan.
And those are some very good tips and things to be able to share with people, because sometimes they just don't know. And sometimes people are not really good at balancing their day or planning ahead of time. But we're gonna keep moving right along. Stephanie M normally has some hot seat questions. So before you got a question, you got a
I
thought.
was gonna. I have a thought. I wanted to mention this because it's like you mentioned you're single and other people might be married that are listening to this, and so your husband might have a calendar, and then you might have a separate calendar. And so when you have separate calendar, you always want to have. We have what's called a master calendar. So if he has something on his calendar and I have something on mine, we put it on the master calendar so that we know together what's going on, because he can't have one schedule and I have a different schedule. It's the conflict that says where there's unity, there's strength. So if we're going in the same direction, we can work, right? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to point out. Have a master calendar.
That's and you got to make sure that you are in sync, because if you're not in sync, then things get out of whack. But we're gonna take a quick commercial break, real quick, guys, and then we're gonna come back, and Stephanie M is gonna put Stephanie G in the hot seat with her hot seat questions. So we will be right back with Uncensored Entrepreneurs. We are back, guys, with Uncensored Entrepreneurs with Miss Stephanie Green, and we are now going to get into the hot seat. All right, now, Stephanie.
So we're talking about fueling your financial engine. And so we're going to put Stephanie to the hot seat. And so I have my questions for you, geared specifically just for you. So here it goes. So what's the speedometer reading on your financial success? And can you tell us about the bumps in the road along the way?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Question.
My speedometer on your
Yes.
success.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, well, right now, I'd say I'm putting the pedal to the metal. There's a time where you have to kind of come back and release, because earlier I was telling you about how I was in the hospital. I don't know if I mentioned I was in the hospital,
Yes.
but I was in the hospital, right? Just suddenly. I've always been really, really healthy, and I ended up in the hospital, right? And so when I came back from the hospital, I did not go in as far as I would before I went into the hospital because life happens, right? And so sometimes you have to adjust according to what's going on in your life, right? And so right now, I'll say that, the pedal is to the metal. But if you'd asked me a month ago or 2 months ago or 3 months ago, I would have said, hey, I'm riding on 55 or
Right.
45.
Going north, right. Going north. No brakes, no GPS.
Just scenic route, the scenic route going on.
Right. Don't have no direction. You just driving.
Yes, and enjoying the scene because when you end up in the hospital and you've been healthy all this time and you're like, oh my God, you start appreciating things. And so if you live in DC or anywhere like that, and you know how the traffic is in DC at 5 o'clock, I was in 5 o'clock traffic, and I was just like blowing, like whistling, just saying, "Thank you, Lord, that I'm in the traffic." Because when you're in the hospital and you can't get out, that is not a fun place to be. So you have to appreciate where you are right now. But right now, it's the pedal to the metal.
Okay, and that's also, you answered the second part too. Was, can you tell about the time you had bumps in the road? That's all encompassing in what you just said. So question number 2 is, if you could take a pit stop and give one piece of financial advice to every aspiring entrepreneur, what would it be?
Create passive income ASAP. Don't waste time. Find a way to make passive income. Don't spend all your money. Don't eat your seed. Don't eat your seed. Some people, they pay tithe and offering and they don't never say nothing for themselves. If you pay your tithe and offering, that's good. Also, put something aside for yourself. Invest that. Multiply your money and create passive income.
She said, don't eat your seed. And that's funny. And I know that's not relative, but that's like the principle of when people would say, when my grandmother used to say, have a rainy day fund.
Yes.
She said, a lady always supposed to have her little special rainy day fund. And you could do the same thing when it comes to business. So here is the last question. When it comes to financial literacy, some people are driving a Ferrari, while others are still learning how to ride a bike. What's your approach to helping people shift gears and accelerate their financial knowledge?
Oh, that's a good one. From a bike to a Ferrari. Ooh.
Some people are driving a Ferrari. Some people are just still driving a bike. How do you help them shift gears and accelerate their financial knowledge?
Again, everybody's individual. So some people are on bikes and some people are on Ferraris. And so while you're on your bike, I'm going to show you how you can upgrade to the next level. If you're in a Ferrari, I'm going to show you how you can upgrade to the next level. There's always a next. No one's ever satisfied. I mean, I guarantee you, Elon Musk is not satisfied. He's got billions of dollars.
Never satisfied.
Nobody is ever satisfied. So whether you're on a tricycle or a bicycle, or what do you call it, a motorcycle, everybody's on different levels. So just take that next step above. And so what I do is I do individual consultations to find out where you are to get you to your next.
Right. That is so kind of awesome. In that, because like we said, we're fueling our financial engine with Stephanie. And so as we wrap up the show, and thank you for participating in the hot seat, because those who don't know, we never give our guests the hot seat questions prior. So thank you for indulging in that. As we wrap up the show, as again, we're fueling the engine with you. Guess what you want to say?
I have one more point that just came to mind. So because you're talking about fueling the engine. So I was just reminded, I had a girlfriend that just told me she was in her car and she had her grandson with her. Instead of her stopping to get gas, she kept going. She actually ran out of gas. And so you have to have fuel for the engine to go, right? You can't
Yes.
go nowhere if you ain't got no fuel. So my point is this: if you are in a vehicle, they have these little never run out of gas is basically what I want to say. Like she talked about having something on a rainy day, never run out of gas. Have a backup system.
Right. Pay attention to that gas hand, okay? Pay attention to the gas hand.
That's
Know
right.
it. Stop
That's
trying
right.
to push it to the limit when you almost on E.
Exactly. And this is me. This is me. When I'm driving in my vehicle, when my car gets to the halfway point, I'm filling up. I don't wait for it to get past a quarter or even to the E. My husband on the other end, he waits for it to get to E and then he fills up. I don't do that because remember I told you at the beginning, I used to drive 500 miles a week. And so, and if you're in Boston, you have, and traffic can be backed up for hours. You need gas. So never run out of gas.
Well,
That's funny you say that because we talk about it all the time. Is we don't pay attention to that warning sign too, though. And so, we push it. We be like, okay, I drive a Mazda, and the Mazda manufacturing book says I can do 40 miles to empty. And, and they don't understand those are words are used loosely. That's the prediction that, based on the test driving of vehicles. But how many times you seen people drive, come on now, y'all, with the check engine light on?
All the time.
Or the tire light on. That drives me crazy. The tire light on, that drives me crazy.
I'm guilty for having, driving with it on. But
the
believe
tire
me,
light?
It's temporary because warning signs drive me crazy. Mm-hmm. So anything that's on my dashboard lights up, I know that I can only go a certain distance. But while I'm going that distance, I'm calling somebody because like, hey, such and such is on my, what is this? When can I see you? So I can fix it. So, it's not something that's going to, it's temporary, but I'm going to get it fixed. So you can't go on that and let it last forever.
No,
that's just like somebody riding on a donut. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to have a spare.
Oh, that engine knocking. Come on, child. You know why that engine knocking? And then when you go over the mechanic, like, I don't know what happened. Yes, you do. You heard that engine knocking 20 miles away. Come on now.
And ignored it, right?
You know, they put that sticker on their car to let you know when your oil change is due, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to do the same thing with your business. Set dates, set reminders. Like she said, that's also going to help you fuel your financial engine. Because sometimes, and then that's going to help you with your maintenance. You can't keep going without doing your maintenance on your stuff as well, too. So,
that's right.
What else do you as we wrap up this session, and thank you again for everybody that's tuning in. We are fueling our financial engine with Stephanie. Any last minute thoughts you want to say to our viewers? Anything that you feel that is beneficial to them as they go along this journey? We would like to hear it.
Yes, absolutely. So speaking to those that, maybe you've been laid off and, you have all the stress that comes with being laid off. You don't know what to do. Connect with someone that's doing a little bit more. Don't be intimidated. You don't want to get around family that's, being negative. You need to be around a positive environment. Get connected to a group of people that are forward thinking and doing different things to move forward, and connect with them. So, maybe you have something within you to help you to create a business or to create passive income. But at anything, the scripture says that money answers all things. And so there's millions of ways that we can make money. What are you passionate about? Use that passion to fuel your engine so that you can become successful and be empowered to obtain wealth. So if you have any questions about anything, I'm always available to answer any questions. But the first thing you do is believe and then get connected.
That's great. Now, also tell them how to connect with you. Give them your website, your social media handles, so they know where to be able to fuel their financial futures.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Stephanie Green. I am the founder of Power Wealth Profits, LLC. And profits is not like in the Bible profits. It's like money profits, which is PRO, F as in Frank, ITS profits. So go to my website. There's a link where you can book a call with me. I'm also on Instagram under G._Stephanie. And Stephanie has two N's. My mom's name is Annie, so she put Steph in front of it. So I'm Steph Annie, Stephannie. The double portion is what I say. And I'm also on Facebook. You can reach me at Stephanie Green, just like the color of money, right? Stephanie Green, reach out to me there. And let's get your finances to the next level. You know, you don't want to be in the same place you are right now next year. So let's get you into gear, because actually, if you're a woman, this is Women's History Month. So if you never started investing, I have some classes I can teach you. I have some pointers I can teach you. There's actually something that's paying over 3% a week that will excel and multiply your money. So reach out to me and let's get this wealth building started.
Let's get this money. That's what she said.
Yes.
Let's get this money.
We can't hear you, Stephanie.
On mute.
Sorry, everybody. We just had our session with Stephanie. We just got in the car. We put our seatbelt on. We put the key in the ignition, and we just fueled our financial engine. Thank you so much. As always, we like to give people their flowers while they're here. Thank you for all that you do, and for your business and all that you're trying to do to help our community with our wealth and create passive income. So thank you from us to you. We appreciate you. Anybody that takes the gumption to start a business, we want to give them a round of applause, because we know it's not an easy feat. And to be on a show and tell us about your journey, that's not an easy feat as well. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. We're rooting for you in your business, and we want you to succeed. And again, she gave you all her information to contact her. Please do. Let's lift this sister up so she can grow her business and also be able to help you in return. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, guys, this has been another great episode of Uncensored Entrepreneurs. Again, our guest tonight has been Ms. Stephanie Green, Power Wealth Profits. Again, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming. And we look forward to getting uncensored with our next guest, whoever that may be. It could be you if you're out there watching. So until next time, stay safe.
And mind your muffins.
Mind your muffins, as Stephanie.
And mind your muffins.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Fuel those engines.
Fuel those engines.
Tune in weekly to hear the uncensored voices of Stephanie Magnus and Sabrina Wiggins, two women who speak candidly about entrepreneurship. Stay connected with us at www.legittvnetwork.com.